Hi, so my name is Anna Sawyer, and I am a clinical social worker, and I am the host for Educators First. And today I wanted to come and talk to you about leaving your work at work, right? I don't know how many times, just going into work, I'm debating with my kids, my husband, starting to think about the day. And sometimes I go into work and there's already tears in my eyes, right? You're just like, what do I do? Or even the other way around. And I remember sometimes, I come home and I just want to stare at a white wall, because you talk all day, you deal with kids all day, you deal with staff all day, and that's on top of everything else that we do. So what I wanted to do was offer you a continuing ed hour. And in order to do that, at the end, I have some questions for you to answer and just to send that in to me. And I will send that out to you. And we can do this live, or for many of you who will be watching this as a recording, the same thing applies. So I've broken down this training into several different parts. So the first part we're going to talk about is starting your workday. The goal with that is just to leave your home life at home, leave it there. So some techniques to do that is, really taking time and intentionally leaving your issues in the car. Like when you are sitting there ready to go, you're just, I've got to leave this here. I will pick up my daughter's problems on my way back home. They're going to stay right here. I'm going to worry about my pets when I come back because I can't focus on home and life. So while you're in the car and before you get out to go to work, I want you to take 5 deep breaths. Now, these are actually intentional deep breaths, okay? And so the idea is that you exhale slower than you inhale. So it would be like, and sometimes on the exhale, it helps to think about a word that you want to be like calm or peace. But the idea is your inhale is shorter than the exhale. So we'll do it again. Now, if you do 5 of those and you do them slowly, what's going to happen is you're going to start to feel your body relax. Okay. And then what I want you to do is, so you've done all of that, you're leaving your life in your car, you're going to pick up your problems, then you're going to head into work. And what I want you to do is to create like an invisible bubble or shield around you. Okay. Because one thing I notice when I'm at work is that I take in everybody's stuff and their stress and this person's stress and the student's doing this. And I just kind of absorb everything. And so the idea about having like a bubble or a shield around you is that it stays on the outside. Okay. Everybody else's problems kind of bounce off of you so that you don't take them in. And that is part of, what you carry throughout the day. And it just makes your day harder, whatnot. So those are the 3 things to look at when you're starting your day: leaving your shoes in the car, the 5 deep breaths, and, having a bubble or a shield. So now we go through our workday. And when we think about leaving for the workday, one thing I recommend, if you can do it, is leave your laptop at work. It was always really hard for me to do that. Just going to check this, do that. But no, leave it at work. Work can stay at work. It does not have to be a full-time job. And the same way you intentionally left your problems in the car, I want you to leave those concerns at work, your frustrations with administration, with parents, with social media, really try to actively, I'm just going to leave this here. And sometimes it might even be helpful to write a note about what you're going to stress about the next day. Like, oh, right, I need to follow up with this, or I'm really frustrated. Because by tomorrow, you're probably not even going to be frustrated about it. So really just try to leave those problems at work. So once in the car, what you're going to do is you're really going to take your deep breaths again. You're going to, every time you breathe out, you're going to leave work at work. Okay. And what you're going to do then is really focus on your transition time. Okay. So both with entering and leaving, it's really about just separating it and making that intentional, and the breath's intentional. We all breathe all day, but it's really about inhaling faster than we're exhaling, and just as we exhale, let everything go. So let's talk about how we transition home, okay? So I really recommend that you find some sort of transition activity, okay? Whether you are able to read in your car for a little bit, take a walk, do some sort of sporting activity, um, anything, right? And for those of us who have kids, try to incorporate your kids. But as I say that, if you have kids or your pets are at doggy daycare or whatnot, don't rush home to get them. It is okay to leave our kids at daycare, at the after school program a little longer, because what's important is that you take care of yourself and you use those extra 15, 20 minutes even that you normally would have been picking up the kids because we feel guilty and we should pick them up. We want to use that for ourselves. And even if it's just kind of sitting in the car in silence and just kind of breathing out your day and processing, it's okay. And it's okay to really be, to let our kids stay there and not to be, on 100% of the time. That's actually good parenting and good mental health, to have that separation. So I also recommend that, if you can't get out for a walk or anything, just at least get 5 minutes of fresh air, just walking to the mailbox. When I was working at home at the beginning of the pandemic, that was something that was my outside time, was just walking down the driveway. And as I was kind of rushing through things, that gave me that 5 minutes of fresh air. And so we start thinking about in the car and your transitions. So some people love to talk on the phone in the car, it's their de-stressor. But for lots of people, it's actually a point of stress and point of contention. You might just be calling somebody to chit chat and all of a sudden you're talking about something stressful. You're talking to your parents about something, you're going to try to make some appointments. And if you're doing that, I really recommend you just try to stay at school the extra 15 minutes or even in your car and just make your appointments, catch up on what you need to do. So then that ride home is really actually a break. You're not multitasking, then all of a sudden you're at home and you're like, I don't even know what happened. So the other things that you can do is listen to a podcast. Okay, there's some great ones out there on anything you can want to listen to distract yourself, to learn, or, audiobooks, lots of loud music, depending on your type of mood that you're in. And the other part is utilizing silence and using the breath work again. And for some people, that's really how they settle with the day. A lot of the other of us need that exercise or that just we have to get it out somehow. Silence isn't everything for us. So you get home, right? And let's talk about what happens when you get home. When you're at home, we often stress about work, right? And all the things that we need to do. So a couple things that I recommend. The first one is doing like a thought dump or word dump, where you have some sort of journal and you just put everything down that you're thinking about. It doesn't have to make sense. It can be full of swears, full of all of your anger, and you just put it all the way down there. And that's a way of just like giving it away, okay? And you are just putting it out there and getting rid of it. Another thing you could do, if you actually have to remember what you're stressing about, is to just write it in a note for later, right? Because if we don't just quickly jot down what we're thinking about, it still stays in our head. And so we're always trying to hold on to that little bit of information before, so it stays up there and it's still stressing us out. For those of us who have a really hard time sleeping at night, I recommend keeping a notebook and a pen beside your bed. That's a great way to just jot something down and to allow yourself hopefully to go back to sleep. And sleep hygiene is a whole other training that I'd love to do. Let's see, if you have to work in the evening, and you weren't able to leave your laptop at home, it's really important that you set up intentional time frames of when you're going to work. And also have that, be in a quiet area, stay focused so you can just get it done with, and not having the computer out all night in front of the TV and kind of half working, because you're never giving yourself time to de-stress and time to separate, and both home and work are just completely intermingled. And the other thing I recommend, don't check emails before bed. That is usually a very poor idea because all of a sudden you check it and you might not even think something's bothering you, but it's stewing around in your head. And then what happens is that you start having dreams about it, or you're not sleeping well. And if those things happen, just like I said, jot it down in a journal beside the bed, to try to trick your brain into like, I'll worry about that tomorrow, and knowing ideally you don't. So when you are working from home, so several of us have had to do that over the pandemic at different times or through different jobs that we have. So this was very difficult for me at first, because we all kind of worked at kitchen tables and whatnot. So all of our things were always kind of out and intermingled. And so I recommend really trying to find a place to hide your computer, your office space, your work bag. Lots of people use those little accordion type of curtains. Just trying to put everything away. Like I would just sneak everything under my desk so that if I glanced around, I wasn't being triggered and reminded about work that I should be doing or think I should be doing. When you're working from home, you really need to take an intentional break. Usually when we're at work, we do have some more natural breaks that happen, but I notice that when I work from home, I tend to work a lot more actually, because there is nobody to distract me. So it's important that you take that break sometime midday and also before you like transition back into nightlife, home life. And with that also, you really want to set your start times and end times. Once again, just like your work day, you can leave your computer at work. We want you to stop your work day when you're working from home. So those are some different ways that I recommend about leaving work at work. Okay. We have, starting your work day and intentionally leaving our problems in the car. During our workday leaving, we're going to leave work at work. We're going to leave our laptop there. We're going to try to leave our problems there. And at home, which is one of those hard times, we're going to try like some journaling, a word dump, making some notes on scrap papers for later. I'm a huge Post-it person. And now what I do is I just stick all my Post-its in a notebook because my Post-its are everywhere. And remembering to set time frames. Okay. And that's really important, no matter, because we all sometimes have to work from home, is really setting those time frames and differentiating between spending intentional time with my family versus being, working and being in the office. So I hope that this was helpful for you. What I have is I have a series of questions that I'd like you to go over and answer, and I'm just going to tell you what they are, very basic. One is, how do you currently separate your work from home life? Whether it be poor coping skills or great ones, or nothing at all, what do you do? Which of the suggestions that I've given you today do you want to implement? Which ones of these are you going to give an honest try to and see if it can start helping shift and creating that balance we're looking for? Rate how well you're able to leave your work at work on a scale of 1 to 10. How are you doing? Really kind of self-check so that after this you can check again, after you've tried implementing it for a while. And then my last question is, just what other mini trainings are you interested in? And having the opportunity to get on and just spend a little bit of time together and teach you some skills. So reach out, email, messenger to me and give me your answers. And yeah, it was great chatting with you today. Thanks.